8:36, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 89.7 WTN. Super Text line is open at 615-737-9986. Governor Bill Lee is joining us on the Newsmaker Hotline. Governor, it's been a while. Appreciate you joining us here on Super Talk 99.7.
How you doing, Dan? Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you for joining us. Of course, it's a tough day here in Middle Tennessee. We've been covering all morning long the Antioch High School shooting from yesterday. Last session, you and the state legislature passed some bills to fortify our schools, bring in a lot of money to the schools so that they can do what they need to do to fortify our schools. You added some money for SROs as well. Are there any plans to revisit any other ideas to protect the kids this year in this legislative session?
Now, it's first of all, let me just, it is heartbreaking in so many ways when you think about a kid and what went on yesterday, and it's tragic. A lot of it we don't know. There's a lot of it still unfolding, but people dismiss sometimes or want to dismiss kind of the surrounding them, praying for them, providing comfort for families. We thoughts and prayers are not trivial, and we all need to be praying for that situation. On the other hand, we also need to be continuously looking at ways that we can make it safer. You're right. We have a school safety grant fund, SROs in every school, 100 Homeland Security agents now. This all unfolding in the last couple of years. Mental health supports, a safety net with mental health liaisons for every school. This is a tremendous effort that's been had over the last 3 years by the General Assembly. But we should never stop talking about it. We should never stop looking at enhancements. We should never stop looking at ways that we can make it safer. And so I suspect there will be more conversation and more ideas and more pieces of legislation, because we should never stop trying to keep our kids safe.
Governor, you were in Washington, D.C. for President Trump's swearing in. I'm not sure if that was your first one, but tell me about your experience. I love the photograph of you with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Talk to me about what your experience was like.
Well, it wasn't my first one. I went to President Trump's first inauguration before I was governor, actually, and which was exciting. This one, it's really different. It's been 8 years, and I've been the governor for 6. So the ability to interact with Ron DeSantis and Sarah Sanders and multiple governors all weekend long, and to interact with the Trump team. And what's really exciting for me as it relates to what's good for Tennessee is the number of people that we now know and have relationships with that are in the Trump administration. And when you know the Interior Secretary and the Homeland Security Secretary and the Deputy Secretary of Education was actually your Education Commissioner, when you know the folks that are in Washington, D.C., it makes it much more likely that good things can happen for Tennessee. Look, I was up there. You're right. There was a hopefulness and a excitement about what's ahead for America that I haven't seen in a long time. And I was with President Trump in Mar-a-Lago about 2 weeks ago, and I told him then when we were talking, you have created an environment where people can finally say what they think, feel how they want to feel, and there's a freedom to be excited about where America's going.
Governor Bill Lee joining us. You mentioned Penny Schwinn. She has been named Deputy Secretary of Education within the Trump administration. She resigned from your administration in 2023. There were some reports that she complained about the culture wars interfering with education and so forth. I'm curious to know if you had recommended Penny Schwinn to President Trump.
Well, first of all, I think President Trump's pretty good at picking out cabinet members, and I've been really pleased with his appointees, and I hope they make it through Congress. And he interviewed with Penny himself, and he found out what I found out, which is she's brilliant education mind. She's a conservative to her core, and she understands that the Department of Education federally needs to be in large part dismantled and pushed out to the states. She believes in that. She's always believed in that. We talked about it years ago. President Trump now knows what I know, which is she's going to be great for this country. And so, yeah, they reached out to me. I didn't make the recommendation initially, but once she was a front runner for that position, they reached out to me and asked my opinion, and I gave them a recommendation.
Governor, we know that illegal immigration has been a huge topic of conversation, not only here in the state of Tennessee, but nationally as well. You've been supportive of President Trump's immigration policies. Yesterday, the news broke that you've asked for, of course, the special session that is coming up on the 27th of January to include now, in addition to education, illegal immigration. Now, you have some very specific asks. You want a division within the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security to specifically handle immigration issues, and a chief immigration officer to work with the Trump administration. You want a special state ID for non-citizens. It would be a felony offense for local officials to adopt or maintain sanctuary city policies, since that would violate state law. And you want to incentivize local governments to participate in removal of illegal aliens. I'm going to tell you, Governor, I love all of that. In what way would you incentivize local governments to participate in removal of illegal aliens? How would that work?
Well, we want to make sure that we have this something called a 287G program. It's really authorizes locals to assist with immigration law enforcement and detention and removal efforts for criminals, et cetera. We will be working with those locals to determine what they need and by way of training law enforcement officers, operational expenses, purchasing equipment, and that sort of thing. A grant program that, if they are ready and willing, then they will receive the grants to make it easier for them to participate. So that's how we will incentivize them, is with grant programs that allow them to prepare and be ready. And let me just say, this whole effort from an immigration standpoint, I mean, President Trump was very clear about that to Americans for, the year leading up to, well, really since he's been president the last time. But he's really clear about, Americans want the illegal immigration to stop. They want the border to be secure, and they want their communities to be safe again by removing the unsafe illegal immigrants that are here, the gang members, the violent offenders. And that's his strategy. And as I said, when there were a group of governors meeting with him a couple of weeks ago, he said, let's work together. And what this piece of legislation will be is our way of saying and implementing and putting in place the ability to work together with the federal government from day one. He's obviously moving very quickly on his steps as it relates to immigration, and we want to be prepared to do so. And I'll also say there are some specifics you reeled out there. Our enforcement division and a director of that, and state IDs. The legislature has had some very strong and good ideas on this. This is a real partnership with the legislature. Jack Johnson, for example, has a key component of this that he brought to us and said, if you're going to do a piece of legislation around immigration, we think this is a strong piece of it. So I want to thank the members of the General Assembly and the leadership for, when we said, hey, we need to do something to get ready for immigration, they said, we have some really good ideas for you. And we together have put that together for this special session.
Are you getting any pushback from the blue cities across Tennessee on any of this?
No, not. I've heard from, I've spoken to leadership in Nashville about other issues multiple times over the last 2 days, and this issue hadn't come up. So I think, if you look at it, Democrats and Republicans across America believe that, violent offender, illegal immigrants should be sent back to the countries they came from. We all believe that this needs to happen. Democrats and Republicans alike generally and the majority of them believe the border needs to be secure. So, there's pretty widespread agreement that this is the direction that comes ahead.
I thought it was interesting. President Trump yesterday, I covered this extensively. He has announced a plan with, among others, Oracle's Larry Ellison, to invest in that massive AI infrastructure plan. $500 billion. They're going to be opening up data centers, among other things, across the country. They've already got a footprint here, Oracle does. Think we could get some of those $100,000 jobs that they're talking about?
I suspect we will. Our state has been very attractive to industry, and in particular to forward-thinking industries. I was in Memphis last week. A lot of folks don't remember or realize this. A couple of weeks ago, I was there. The XAI company that Elon Musk is a part of is building a massive data center in Memphis. Yep. And it's impressive what's being done there. And the need for support for data, whether it's energy needs or these data centers, it's just going to expand across America. We have major companies like Oracle who have already decided that Tennessee is the best place to be. Yep. I think what we're going to see is the future is quite exciting. In fact, it's part of the reason I've been so focused on, and it's a separate subject. I don't want to get off on it, but why I'm so focused on nuclear energy for Tennessee and have been for the last few years. And you're starting to see a lot of nuclear companies come here because nuclear energy is part of the answer to the needs that the grid is going to have as it relates to supplying energy for these data centers.
Governor, at some point, I would love to have you on to frankly nerd out on nuclear energy, because I love nuclear energy and I love to hear you talk about that. Final question. Senator Marsha Blackburn has given an indication that she'd like to run for governor as your second term ends. Now, we have no idea who else would be running, but do you have any initial thoughts on Senator Marsha Blackburn thinking about it? How do you feel this race is going to go here in the next couple of years?
Well, Marsha and I have been friends for a long time. My wife taught at the school that her kids were, a long time. And she was my state senator and my congressman and now my senator. And so I've known her, and she's excellent. She's very conservative, strong fighter for her state. She's done good for Tennessee. So, I got nothing but positive things to say about Senator Blackburn, personally and professionally and every other way. As far as the governor's race goes, she and I haven't talked about that, and I don't know who all is considering, and it's a little bit of a ways off. So I don't really have much to say about that, but I can say nothing but positive things about her.
Governor, in our final 45 seconds or so, people are already talking about who's going to run to replace you. Have you thought about what you're going to do after you're out of the governor's office?
Right now, I'm thinking about what's going to happen next week. I've got a monumentally important piece of legislation that I think is crucial for the next governor. And by the way, most of them support this too. The president does too. When I was at Mar-a-Lago, we talked about school choice. Tennessee is got to continue to lead the country as the country is moving rapidly forward in the right direction. And one of the ways we do that is with school choice. So, and you know how passionate I am about that.
Oh, yes.
How important this hard. I'm working on it. So I'm not thinking about when I'm done yet. I have a lot of work to do between now and then.
All right. Well, then you brought it up, school choice. You were on with Matt Murphy a couple of days ago. You guys talked all about that. So I don't know if there's been an update. How confident are you in the special session on the 27th?
Yeah, we're confident in the support that we have. But at the same time, we just want to make sure that people understand, A, how important it is, and B, understand the truth about all of this. There's so much, there's so much effort to spread misinformation about the truth. And at the end of the day, the truth is just about giving parents freedom. It's a very conservative idea. It's why you see red state after red state passing this. And It's about giving parents freedom, and it's about creating the best education system in the country. That's public, private, homeschool. It's the education system for all Tennessee kids. And we can do that. We can have the best of all. There's no reason we should, damage one side to hold up the other side. And that's what everyone talks about. Well, this is going to hurt public schools. It's not going to hurt public schools. It's going to help public schools. And if you look at the data and you look at states like Florida that have had school choice for, over a decade, and by the way, they have a lot better public school outcomes than we do. And that's what I want in this state. I want a state that has stellar public school outcomes and freedom for parents to choose where and how their kid is educated. That's possible, and I think that's what's going to happen when we pass this legislation next week.
All right, Governor, good luck, and thank you for coming on, and we'll hopefully talk to you again soon. PainIsBad.com.